This is how we in Hawaii say thank you. Thank you for taking the time of listening to this webinar, which is very special because this has the cultural component that is very important in Hawaii. Hawaii is, I mean, I personally think that is one of the most or the richest cultures in the world. It's centuries old. So it has all this history and it has all this cultural component that it's not only about the beach. Yes, of course it is the beach, but all this component, this cultural component makes the destination more reach. The experience makes it deeper, and I mean, I just enjoy it being there. And yes, Kelly, yeah, we have a prize for listening to the whole webinar. It's a $50 gift card. I think it's an Amazon gift card.
Mm-hmm.
And also, well, this very special, sorry, this very special webinar will give you a lot of the idea of what the Hawaiian culture is about and what is not part of the Hawaiian culture, because sometimes there's some stereotypes that we want to move away from. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Hi'ilani Shibata. And she is the lead cultural trainer from the Native Hawaiian Hospitality Association. She's gonna tell us everything about, well, everything that she can tell us in 20 minutes about the Hawaiian culture. Mahalo, Hilani.
Aloha, aloha. It's so exciting. I'm so excited to be here. We're gonna start this morning, or Kalamai, excuse me. It's morning for me, but I know it's afternoon for you folks. But we're gonna start this presentation with an oli, a chant. It was actually written by myself and a really good friend of mine, Kainoa Danes, who works for the Hawaii Visitors and Conventions Bureau, way back in 2007. E mai na lama kue ho o ki pa e na ne na o pua o ka aina e loko mai ka ika manu o ka iona ke au ho ka la e hiki mai ai ona ka e walu ona kua hivi ona hao mako e ola Hawaii e ola Hawaii e ola Hawaii. Now this chant, when we wrote it, we were actually learning a training that this training I'm gonna share with you this morning comes from, and it's called E ola Hawaii, long live our Hawaii. And one of the most beautiful things about this oli is this line in it that says, the third line, He loko mai ka'i ka manu o Kaiona. Kaiona is a goddess, and she lives on the highest point of the island of Oahu, a place that they call Ka'ala. Some people refer to it as Mount Ka'ala. And it's there that this blind goddess, what she does is she feels with her soul and feels with her spirit if anyone is lost or in trouble. And what she does is she sends her great big birds, her great big Eva birds. They're called these great big frigate birds that can have a wingspan about 9 feet across. So you really see these birds when you see them. And what they do is if they have a sense that you're in trouble, you will follow them to safety. So Kaiona is actually considered the goddess of hospitality in our culture. And one of the most beautiful things is that there's actually a princess, and you may know her. Her name is Princess Bernice Pauahi Bishop. She was the last direct descendant of King Kamehameha. King Kamehameha was the chief that unifies all the islands under one kingdom in our history. And so it's his last direct descendant, Princess Bernice Pauahi Bishop, who is called Kaiona because she was one of the most hospitable and loving ali'i or royalty in our history. Yep, it's so beautiful. And actually, before I move on, behind me in my virtual background is another royalty. and her name is Queen Liliuokalani. And the reason that I utilize her in my virtual background this month is because September 2nd, last week, Wednesday, was her 186th birthday. She was the last queen of our Hawaiian kingdom. And that is a whole nother history lesson that we can go into. But Queen Liliuokalani was an amazing woman. She is also the author of probably the mele that you're most familiar with, Aloha Oe. Now we're going to talk a little bit today about aloha. And ohe pau ka ike ka hala ho'okahi. We do this with this mindset that all knowledge is not taught in one school. I understand that you're going to be meeting people from the different islands in our island chain, and each of the islands are very unique. And so we understand that not all knowledge is from the same place. And so you might learn something from one of us and then learn something else from another. It doesn't mean that one or the other is correct or one is wrong. It just means that the knowledge comes from a different place. Now, when we look at aloha like this, right, it brings us into this whole feeling, right? This feeling of warmth because it's on the sand. It brings this feeling of welcome. It also has a nostalgic feeling because whenever you see this word, it just reminds you of how you feel if you've ever visited Hawaii. This is the definition of aloha. And we can see that it's really difficult to define in the English language. And one of the reasons it's so difficult to define is because it really is the heart and the foundation of how the Hawaiian people treat each other and how we treat visitors and how we treat people in general. It's so important that an elder by the name of Auntie Pilahi Paki, what she wanted to do before she passed on was to make sure that aloha and what it means to show aloha was included in our Hawaii Revised Statute. So it's actually a law in our state that you have to show each other and you have to show each other aloha. Now, of course, right? It's all about enforcement. But I always joke that one day maybe I'll make a ticket, and if someone is not treating someone with aloha, I'll give them a ticket just to remind them that it is what we do. That if you live and you are from Hawaii, that you always make sure that you show aloha. And this is one of the reasons why people are so attracted to come to our islands. It's because we have this code of conduct that we call aloha. And so another saying is, ua ola loko ike aloha, love gives life within. This means that if you do not have aloha, then Hawaiians believe that you might even be sick because aloha is imperative to one's mental and physical health. And ua ola no i ka pane ake aloha, that you should always reply with aloha. That you should never, ever reply without having aloha in your heart and in wherever you say. Now here we go back to Queen Liliuokalani. The reason why I'd like to talk about her too is because there was a time period in our history where it wasn't very, very happy, right? Our kingdom was overthrown by a group of businessmen and a provisional government was set up. That provisional government actually imprisoned this queen for treason, although she had nothing to do with the incident. In her imprisonment for 9 months, she did not say one bad word about about these men that put her in prison. What she did was she composed songs, she prayed, she wrote all kinds of journals and everything. She even quilted. And in that whole time, she actually asked everyone to have aloha and forgiveness for these men because they did not understand how the kingdom was. And so she always reminds us by her saying Aloha means to hear what is not said, to see what cannot be seen, and to know the unknowable. And so when we go back to Auntie Pilahi Paki, who I just talked about with the law of aloha, she explains aloha in a little bit easier way for us to understand. And how she did this was actually looking at different values. And so I know that I can't hear you folks, but if you would just go along with me, I'm going to say these words out loud because we believe in our culture that it's all about our breath. Yeah, that is part of aloha. It's all about our breath, and our words have power. And so what I want you guys to do today is I want you to repeat after me so that we can breathe out this power of this amazing part of our Hawaiian culture. Okay, are you ready? Here we go. Akahai. Akahai means kindness and grace. Lo kahi. Lo kahi is unity, unbroken. Olu olu. Olu olu means agreeable and gentle. Ha'a ha'a. And this one is really, really important because it's humility, modesty. And our last one, aho nui. Aho nui is defined as patience and mindfulness. So Auntie Pilahi Paki, what she says to us is that if we can encompass all of these values, then we are truly being of aloha. Yeah, it's not an easy thing to do, but it is the root of how we were able to have a thriving civilization with no contact with anyone else, was because we had aloha as our guide. And that's how we treated each other and whoever comes to our shores. So akahai has this feeling, just like, when it's hot outside. Oh, last night, as I was going to bed, there was no breeze and I had to turn on the fan. But sometimes when you're walking outside and it's a hot, hot day in the summer, all of a sudden you'll feel this beautiful breeze that makes you go, oh, sigh of relief. That is the feeling of akahai. Lave lave malia kawai opua. The feeling of akahai is also when you're looking at water and it's so still. You know that it's flowing, but it's so still it looks like glass. And that, when you look at it, it gives you that feeling of gentleness and calmness. That is akahai. And I know many of you know people who have that superpower. I call akahai a superpower because it's how we hold ourselves when we have aloha in our heart. The next one is, like we said earlier, lo kahi. And most people know lo kahi because it's how we work together. If we work together, just like water flowing in one direction, it just feels right, right? Ho'o mai vai kahe ke ka o'o, right? Working together like water flowing in one direction. Yeah. If we always hold aloha in our hearts, we will always know how to work as a team. The next one, olu olu. Now this one is a little bit difficult to understand sometimes. Although when we say please, we actually say, e olu olu oi. Will you please be olu olu and do something for me? Or would you please be olu olu and help me with something, yeah? Pu'ehu kalehu ina maka o ka mea luhi. Ashes fly into the eyes of the toddler. Now, that is the surface meaning of olu olu, just to be kind and agreeable. But in actuality, if you're truly olu olu, you do things for the greater we, not only for your individual self. This wise saying that I'm sharing with you talks about how a cook in traditional societies would always be using fire. And he or she, well, actually, it was a he. That's another thing. It's kind of funny that men did all the cooking back in the day in Hawaii. A lot of women really love that idea to come back. But anyway, the cook would do all that he needed to do, even if he got burnt, even if ashes flew into his eyes and burnt his eyes. He knew that his job was for the greater good and not just for the individual gain. And that is one of the most important parts of aloha. Ha'aha'a. Again, I said earlier, this one is also important because it's about being humble. Ku'ia kahele aka na'au ha'aha'a. I was just on this other presentation listening, and I realized, oh, the tone that one of the presenters had just didn't sit well with me. And that he had to the presentation without any ha'aha'a, that his humility was absent. Hesitant walks the humble-hearted. It's really how we say in Hawaiian, enihi kahele. Watch as you come. Come with humility, because you can always learn. You can always grow. You don't always have the answers. And our last one, aho nui, patience, right? This kind of rounds out that whole feeling and that whole reason why aloha is the foundation of our culture. Kaua ke aloha na lehua o ka'ana. Lehua, this is that beautiful red ohia lehua in this picture. This is the first plant after the lava flows. You know, you do realize, right? We have an active volcano in our islands, but all of our islands were created by volcanoes. And after the lava cools off, the first plant to come through the lava is the ohia lehua. And you wonder, how could this plant puka through, we call it in Hawaiian, emerge through this hard rock, this hard black rock? Well, this plant is an amazing symbol of our culture because it thrives even in the harshest conditions. It is the plant that breaks down that hard lava and makes it into rich volcanic soil. So when we talk about aho nui, patience and mindfulness, just like the lehua flower, just like this plant, is so important because you need that, right? You need that mindfulness, that patience for things to come together and to be loving and genuine to others. Now, Archbishop Shinto Ito, a Buddhist master, yeah, this is one of the reasons why we believe in Hawaii, that aloha is our code. Aloha is our gift, Auntie Pilahi says, is our gift to peace around the world. But it's really a universal understanding that we have. Archbishop Shinto Ito, he says, in order to truly understand another person's perspective, we must first breathe the same air. And so we see these two men in what we call a honi, aloha aku, aloha mai. And this is a traditional greeting. And this is a very sacred traditional greeting because it's one where we exchange our ha, our breath. And if we look at the word aloha, it's exactly what it is. Alo means your face or the front of your face, and ha is your breath. And so the touching of these noses and exchanging the breath, Hawaiians believe, was the closest thing to the soul. So when you did a honi with someone else, it was such a deep exchange that it's almost like you got rejuvenized by sharing your ha and receiving the ha of someone else. Of course, nowadays, right, in this time of the pandemic, we don't do the honi, but how we show our aloha is by washing our hands and covering our mouths and our noses, yeah? And so we understand that during certain times, aloha needs to be expressed in different ways. And we have aloha for each other. And that's why our government officials have been trying to figure out when is the best time, right, to welcome visitors back to our shores and be able to continue to show the world aloha. Now, this also goes with ho'okipa. Now, Ho'okipa is another foundation of our culture, and it's one of the reasons why I'm here with you today. Ho'okipa is the accepting responsibility for the safety and well-being of our guests. This is something that we take very, very seriously as people of Hawaii. We really want to make sure that people who come to our place are taken care of, and that you are not, going to be under any harm, that you enjoy the time that you have on our shores. And another definition of Ho'okipa is a place where one goes to be healed. You know, it's amazing. I've had the fortune of traveling all around the world. And whenever I go places and people ask me, where are you from? I always have a big smile on my face and I say, Hawaii. And they cannot wait, right, to tell me about their aunt or their uncle who went to Hawaii, or if they went to Hawaii. And usually there's also something about healing that goes on, whether it's that person who felt when they walked off the plane that things were just different in Hawaii. Now, one of the reasons we believe that Hawaii is a place that creates this healing is because it's in the middle of the biggest ocean of the world. We look at the ocean, the Pacific Ocean, not as a divide, but as a connector. And so when I've learned that I would be talking to people and to our agents in Canada, I was so excited because it's allowing me to touch, another place across the ocean that is part of us. Maybe not by land, but by the ocean. But being the center of the largest ocean in the world, we are the piko. We're the center of this ocean. And in the center, in Hawaiian thought, is the most mana, the most spirit, the most uh, centered energy, I guess you can say. So there have been many, many people who come to Hawaii when they are sick and leave Hawaii with healing. It's just something that I can't explain except with a really short story. A good friend of mine, she just recently celebrated 25 years of being cancer free. Her and her uh, husband are from Massachusetts. And I used to travel to Massachusetts quite often. And I worked with her husband. And I got to know this family. And one day, he calls me up and he says, I'm bringing my wife to Hawaii. I said, we finally are going to be able to make that trek together. And I said, oh, how wonderful. Not knowing that this was their last trip that they had planned together, because the doctors had said that they couldn't do anything for her and she would barely have 6 months to live. She had colon cancer. Well, they came to the islands. They had an amazing time. I actually took them to see the volcano and to different sites around all of our islands. And when they left, I get a call from him 2 weeks later, and he explains, oh my gosh, do you know what happened? And I didn't even realize that she had been so sick during the trip. But when they got back and she went to see the doctor said, what did you do? What did you do in Hawaii? Because it seems like you're on the road to healing. And so, like I said, she just celebrated 25 years of being cancer-free. Now, how can we not understand that this place that we call Hawaii and the values that I'm sharing with you today, aloha, does not promote that healing, right? Now, one of the reasons Hawaii today is one of the best places for your customers to come to is because we follow what is called a place-based model. The host and guests are equally responsible for the place that they visit. And that's because we all need to malama, right? Take care of this place. Malama the place so that it can continue to thrive and take care of the host and the guests. And how do we do that? How do we do that? Well, it's by actually learning the stories, learning more about the culture of Hawaii, learning more about the place, maybe learning a chant or a song, or just experiencing the authenticity of the culture. Now, we started this with a song from Elvis and that time period, which is a beautiful time period in our history. But we know that people know that time, right? We know that kind of rock-a-baby hula and all that kind of stuff. But many of us who come to Hawaii, who visit, we don't get to go beyond that. And so I challenge you that when you work with your customers, that you invite them. Yeah, you learn more about how to engage in the authentic culture through all of the presentations you're going to do, and invite your customers, invite your guests to experience that when they come. Yeah. So with that, I want to say mahalo nui loa for having me this morning. I really am excited to answer some of your questions. I hope that I've shared with you maybe something new. And do me a favor, please. Please share something maybe that you never knew before with someone in your family. Okay, Lorenzo.
Mahalo nui, Lani. I think this was very, I don't know, fulfilling. You can actually feel your aloha and the aloha of the Hawaiian people in your words. And I mean, this was just a 20-minute. I don't know how long it was. I just enjoy the presentation so much. Mahalo, mahalo, because I think that all our agents and you, Kelly, and well, all the people who's watching this could feel this sense and this aloha spirit, which is not only in their people in Hawaii. It's part of the culture. It's part of the land. It's more than just as you said, a hello and goodbye. And I mean, for me, this presentation was really like, yeah, I don't know, like it was amazing. And well, I also want to ask our agents when they sell Hawaii that have this in mind, how important this is when their clients are traveling to Hawaii, and the respect their clients have to have for your culture, for your communities, for your land, and well, all that they're looking at, they're being welcomed to someone else's house, and they have to treat Hawaiians and Hawaii as that, right? So, well, I don't know. I just feel so emotional now. But go ahead, Kelly, please.
Lorenzo, I hear you. I don't know. I'm feeling very emotional as well. I'm a pretty high strung person, and I'm like always talking and moving, and I'm just I'm very calm. I'm just very calm, and I just I felt this was an experience, and it's very magical. I think is maybe a really great way to describe it as well. And there are so many comments here, so you know what I'm gonna do, because there's a lot of beautiful comments, and I think everybody wants to turn this into a weekly session.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. I'm gonna tell you why. Because one of the things that I knew that I had to do during this time of shutdowns and COVID and all that was that we have a hard time as people of Hawaii not connecting. Mm-hmm. This has been one of the most trying things for my people, and for not only people that are Hawaiian, but people in Hawaii. We just love being around each other, you know, and it's been so hard for everybody. So actually, I have been hosting weekly Aloha Circles. And we've been talking and just relating, because aloha is really how Hawaii is special, and it's our way of relating to each other, and it's that code I talk about, you know. And so when our visitors come, and yes, there are some people who don't care for our visitors, but if they feel that you have aloha, they will respond with aloha, or they will take care of you. Oh, when you get aloha from one of the people who lives here, you don't understand how much you feel it. It's that kind of thing that I hope, when your customers come, that they get to feel it. And one of the ways to do that is to seek out those authentic experiences, because it's at those places like Iolani Palace that is in my virtual, behind, where you will meet people who genuinely will treat you and take care of you with aloha. Yeah. And it's something that when you come to Hawaii, you need to experience. That's what I think. And I really believe Canadians, especially, you guys understand, and that it's easy for you folks.
Yeah. Yes. It's amazing. Okay. So, there's a couple of questions, but so we have clients that really want that authentic experience, and just to just embrace, the culture. So maybe Lorenzo, or either of you guys, where's a good place for us to start, that we can do some research as travel agents, learn more, so we can then share it with our clients and encourage them to build that into our itineraries? Is there
So one of the easiest ways actually is that there are festivals every weekend in Hawaii. They may not always be Hawaiian, but we just there's this one really huge one that's an Okinawan festival. But although it's for the Okinawan ethnic group, it's really Hawaii. It's just amazing, So, and it's usually our festivals are free because they're to welcome everyone and to learn about the cultures of Hawaii, And so I always recommend people try and book your stay around a festival. But there are big Hawaiian festivals throughout the year, and there are many, many inexpensive ways. Now, what happens in these festivals, if you have opportunities to meet locals, you get to ask that question. It's a time when we are showcasing the specialness of our culture. Beautiful one is Aloha Festivals, Kamehameha Day celebration, that's in June. Aloha Festivals is in September. So there's the Merry Monarch Festival, which is usually in late March, early April. So they're kind of spaced out. So it's a really good way to kind of frame your visit around those festivals. And so if the agents can kind of, have that, which is also all that information is provided by Hawaii Tourism Authority and Lorenzo. He has the, beeline to that information. I don't know, Lorenzo, if
actually, I wanted to talk about that. We have this website, which is special for the agents. It's agents.gohawaii.com, where you can, first of all, and I'll recommend to do this, you can find the Hawaii Destination Specialist Program, which is great because it gives you like an overall on the state. It talks about culture, it talks about gastronomy and the offer, the product that you have in the state and overall. And then it's 6 modules long. So the first 2 are like state wide, and then the 4 last modules are island specific. So then you can also experience or learn about the uniqueness of each one of the islands and how to sell them. And and this website is full of marketing tools like images and calendars, so you can actually, as a travel agent or a travel advisor, create a schedule around a festival or a celebration or something that it's more than just going to the beach, where you can experience this culture that we've been talking about. So this is, I think, that the first step that the agents have to do to be closer to this, to knowing Hawaii. And of course, I'm here for you and Hawaii Tourism Canada for any questions you have. And if I don't know the answer, of course, I'm gonna redirect it to Hilani or whoever is the person in charge of that specific information.
That's great. Just so you guys know, I actually just threw the link in the chat box. If you guys don't already have it, theagents.gohawaii.com, and also agents following us along on Facebook as well. I just threw it in there as well, or just log into Spold Agent. And they have the dedicated Hawaii page with all of the information there as well. But that's great. Okay, I'm all disorientated because I'm just like so relaxed, you know.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, here we go. Okay, so Brett, are there any craft organizations or collectives or retailers we should be aware of to learn more about Hawaiian craft to purchase, you know, high quality goods?
Yeah, so actually there is one, Namea Hawaii. And I don't know if I can put that in the chat,
Yeah,
but
that'd be great.
Namea Hawaii is a good one, and because they have classes.
Oh,
So,
okay.
you know, like you can go to their website, and they have classes and they have books. Their store has all the supplies as well as, and it's all done by actual artists that do it. And
Oh,
it's
great.
done more, not in like a, you know how they have at the hotels, they have free things, you know, it's not like that. This is like real, you know, like you got to be serious, you know, you know, you want to learn something. And so they host a number of really amazing classes that link you to actual artisans who do it all the time. And so, yeah. And then if you have questions about that, their staff is very knowledgeable about who to connect you with. Or if you wanted to, maybe even as an agent, if you had like a group that had some kind of specialty, they could also probably hook you into those artists. They've been around for over about 20 years, I want to say.
No, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Lorenzo, a few agents, would you mind throwing your email address in the chat box?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
that would be great. And I know because there's two of you guys in Canada, correct? Yourself, and then you have, oh,
Sorry.
okay.
Yeah, it's me that I'm the account director, and then I have someone who helps me, Gustavo. I don't know if you, I mean, I guess that a lot of you agents know him
In the
in
West Coast.
Vancouver,
Yeah.
in the West Coast, and I have Renee also helping me in Montreal. So if you
Perfect.
need anything like for the French market, Renee or myself, we are the people in charge of that.
Great. Yeah,
we cover the whole country.
The whole country, coast to coast. And I just want to, actually, I want to give Gustavo a little shout out. He's following along on our FaceTime live here as well. So aloha, Gustavo. That's excellent. Okay. Thanks, Lorenzo, for throwing that in there. Okay, so there was another, okay. So what are some of the authentic experiences you suggest that we can offer to our clients? So I know we touched on that, and you were talking about the weekend festivals, and of course there's a lot of information on the Hawaii Specialist website suggestions. But is there maybe I'm gonna ask both of you guys, how's that? I'm gonna ask Lorenzo first. Is there something on one of your trips that just really kind of stood out that is like a must do? Or actually, I don't want to get you in trouble either, so you can pass if you want to. You can pass, all right?
No, of course I won't. I think that everywhere you go, it has something very, very special and that's something that it's also special about Hawaii. That everywhere you go has something different and something that you can show. So my advice for the people visiting Hawaii when it's safe is that anywhere you go, it doesn't matter which island or which city on the islands, just go outside and explore, always with being respectful and cautious about the land and the people. But also in the website, there's a lot of DMCs that can help you having this cultural or even nature experiences, going to the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, for example. For me, that was very, very special because it's not only a natural phenomena, it's also all the legends and the culture surrounding the volcanoes, and having this let's say this web, or this mix of cultural and natural, which is what makes Hawaii what it is now. It's the essence of Hawaii.
Right.
So I think that would be something that I would do. But anywhere you go, there's the advice is to go out and explore and talk to the people. They're super. They always share their aloha, as Ilani was saying. So if you start talking to a stranger, they will share you, their aloha, and point you in the right direction, give you advice on where to go and everything. So yeah, exploring and going outside and really embracing Hawaii and being out there. It's
Right.
not a destination for staying in a resort.
Right. Very interesting. And my dear, what about you? Do you have, I know again, it's probably hard, and I know there's probably so many, but you
it's
have
very island specific.
okay. Right.
Each
That's
island, right? Each island has its own cultural icon places that you should go.
Right.
And then usually if you go to those places, then you'll also meet people that can share with you even more in depth.
Right.
So I'm going to say Iolani Palace, though, is one that's statewide. I think if you're on Oahu, if you're a visitor, your guest or your customer goes to Oahu, I would recommend Iolani Palace just because it's a part of history. And in a short visit, you can actually learn a lot.
Right.
A lot because of the way that they've put it together. And people who love history kind of stuff, that's a great place. Also, it's fun because it's really the only palace that is on American soil. So it has that beauty too. So that's one I would always recommend. And of course, all the museums, there's many museums on all the different islands. Some of them are smaller than others, but all the museums will also direct you to different places. And I like that too. When I go to places, I like to go to the local museum because usually it'll tell you where to go, And so Oahu's one is Bishop Museum, but like the Bailey Museum on Maui, and Hilo, you have the Lyman Museum. Kauai has the Kauai Museum. I mean, every island has a museum that you can go and get some information.
Great.
Yeah.
Actually, an agent's asking for your email, Helani. I don't know if that's if you would mind, or
that's fine.
Yeah, is that okay? I don't know if you want to throw it in the chat box there.
Yeah, and
please go ahead.
Yeah, no problem.
Great. So that's great. I'll throw it in the FaceTime as well. So don't worry, agents and watching for FaceTime. We have we got 23 following along continuously on our FaceTime live as well. So we have really, really great turnout. Okay, so that's good. So I will do that. And then your idea about sharing about the artists that leading into that question, and then giving us that website and talking about taking courses, things like that. An agent I think the agents' minds are just like going, because an agent said, it would be great if we could maybe do like a session, like a Zoom session, like maybe create with a group that's going to Hawaii, like maybe do like an online craft, just to, or maybe 8 people that were thinking. It's just, it's just kind of going about these things in a different way. So
yeah, actually that's Lorenzo. He would need to do the asks or whatever.
Nice.
One of the things is that it is not that hard, Lorenzo, to do that if you wanted. That's an interesting concept, especially now, right? Because everybody's so used to doing it over Zoom or whatever, that you can do these things with no problem because people have the capability now.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, we in Hawaii Tourism Canada, we try to bring the culture and try to be to enlighten the agents with Hawaiian culture. We actually have this series with Spoiled Agent of webinars. It's going to be a little bit more island specific. But we were talking about doing this pronunciation webinar or workshop online next year. So yeah, we try to push a little bit more. We'll try to push a little bit more of this workshops and stuff. And yeah, if we can find the means, we will bring this workshops to you. And if Hiilani and the Native Hawaiian Hospitality Association is on board, we will be happy to do this or make this workshops.
Yeah, actually, Lorenzo, I want you to take a look in the chat box near the bottom. Don't worry, it's not too scary, but one of your colleagues, we have a few of your team tuning in and helping us out in the background and doing and posting some great suggestions, some virtual tours, things like that. So maybe I'm just going to ask another question. Maybe you can take a look at this, Lorenzo, and see if you want to speak to any of that. That's so great. Here we go. Excellent.
I think is it Malia who
Yeah, Malia. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So she's been posting some great stuff there that you might that maybe everybody you can take a look at the chat box, or I don't know if there's anything that you want to speak to it, Lorenzo, but looks like some great sites, great experiences that she's been posting. So that's amazing. So great. Perfect. Okay. So I've actually been trying to copy and paste some of the things on here. And yeah, no, it's great. And you know what I'm going to do, Kalani's, I already said, but I'm going to make sure that I copy that whole chat box, and there's a lot of lovely, inspiring comments on our Facebook group as well. I think you truly moved a lot of travel agents today, and we're really kind of tuned in to you, and what a lovely spirit you have, and it's just been such a pleasure to have you here today.
So I just looked down at my phone for some reason, and Malia is actually my boss. No, she's she kind of is and kind of isn't, but she's really a partner in all of it. There's Malia, and she confirmed that actually we can also offer from the Native Hawaiian Hospitality Association it's a 2-hour class that goes deeper into Aloha, Ho'okipa, and Kuleana.
There she is.
And that can And so you can email me. I sent you guys my email, as well as info@naha.com, and she'll put that into the chat. All we need is 20 people to be on the webinar on the Zoom, and we can do that. Yeah. So, and I think that the more, well, it's a webinar. We've done it for over 100 people, just like this, right, and everything, and it's really a good class, and it's something that we have been doing. We've continued the work of our founder, Dr. George Kanahele, and Senator Kenneth Brown, and that's what they did in 20 plus years ago, and we've been still doing it, and it's really important because that's part of how we are Hawaii, really.
Sure.
Yeah, so if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff, we can
well, how about this?
And you can also, agents, write me, and if I can pull a group of more than 20, I'll be glad to talk to Malia and Hiilani to have this class. I mean, that's my job. I'm here and happy to help.
Okay, so listen, this is like, it's going to happen, because I think you're going to have many of them. Facebook's blowing up here, the chat book's blowing up. So 100%. Okay, so I think just to kind of let everybody know via FaceTime, and so FaceTime agents, I don't have your contact information because you're watching there. So if you guys want to send me an email at kelly@spoiledasian.com, I'm going to gather all your names, and then all the agents that are tuned in via Zoom webinar, we already have your info. I'm going to gather everything together, and then we're going to get the emails and all the information that we need, and we'll send it out to you, and then we'll definitely get Lorenzo to work with you guys and to get some things set up. Yeah.
Can I actually say one more thing? I'm actually on the board of this national in America tourism association that works with Native Americans, Alaska Natives, and Native Hawaiians. And our conference is actually next week, and it's actually free, which is we got funding as an organization. And, you know, it's a tourism conference that you can learn more about what's happening in those populations as well as our Native Hawaiian. And so I'm going to put it into the chat, and you just go to IANTA, so www.ianta.com, and it's the American Indian Tourism Conference. I'm actually going to be the end of the conference keynote.
Oh, awesome.
Sharing about a deeper meaning of aloha, a little different from what I shared this morning, but yes, I'm closing out. Hawaii is closing out that conference. Like I said, it is subsidized, so it's free. And so I think it'd be great if you guys came. IANTA actually has a partnership with the Native Peoples Tourism Association that you folks have, the First Peoples, right?
Right.
First Peoples.
In
Yeah.
Canada,
So yeah. So
First Nations.
yeah, the First Nations. I think it's interesting. You can just peruse and see if it's something that, and you don't have to, you don't have to attend everything. That's what's great about being online, right?
Yeah, you don't have to travel, right? Not as expensive.
Right. Yeah.
But you know what? We would all, I think, really love to come and see you, and with Lorenzo, of course, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so so there are no more questions, but yeah, thank you so much, Helani. You were amazing, and it was such a. It's funny. I had no idea. You know, I host many webinars, and I really didn't know what to expect from this. And it was truly a pleasure and very enlightening. And I'm gonna have a really great day. And I'm gonna spread some good spirit around. How's that? Some aloha.
Yes.
Spirit
Yes.
from my
Aloha
heart.
aku, aloha
Yeah.
mai. Yes. Yes. Mahalo for having me and Malia, and mahalo to Lorenzo as well for arranging this. We really, really are just want to share our aloha and our mahalo with everyone.
And Lorenzo, if you want to
Yeah.
do the final farewell.
Mahalo
Thank you.
to all, to you, to Yuhi, Ilani, and Malia, all the way down in the Central Pacific and in the Hawaiian Islands, but also across Canada. And mahalo you agents for taking the time for learning and having this, hunger for knowing about the Hawaiian culture. And yeah, for sure, I will work with you guys to put together this class. And I mean, nothing will make me happier than keep spreading the Hawaiian culture and the aloha spirit. Mahalo.
Mahalo.
Mahalo. Bye, everybody.
Aloha.